sound of the pistol also signals the beginning of the race. So every 9 laps, the bell will ring. The bell signals to the riders that the next time they cross the start-finish line, there's points on the line. They've started with a nice controlled pace. When riders are looking to attack, they generally go up track to use the banking to accelerate. It looks like Sydney's moving up towards the front. He's going to try and get a gap, hot on his heels. Looks to be a Forest City Velodrome rider and a Team Équipe Quebec rider. Number 42, Axel Froner, who's now in the lead. Right on his tail is Antoine Dalterio, then Joël Dumang, and then Sydney. Those 4 have a gap on the rest of the field. They're going to try and work together to see if they can increase their lead. Remember, if they lap the field, they gain 20 points. But Danielle Nordman de Silva is leading the chasing group, trying to regain connection with the four fast riders that are at the front. Joel's now on the front, then Sydney. And rider 32, that's Justin Correa. He's trying to bridge the gap with Dawson McDonald wanting a piece of that action as well. Looks like they're both going to succeed. Sydney's now on the front. Pace has come down a little bit from the main group, giving hope to the chasing group to connect, and it looks like everyone's back together. You can see the riders constantly looking over their shoulders. They're trying to anticipate an attack or a pickup in speed, much like what is trying to happen at the moment by rider 35, that's Giuseppe Caron. But it looks like Kobe Liberty was ready for it. He was on the front and picked up the pace. And the bell lap means the next time around they'll get points. Giuseppe Caron is leading out. Daniel Nordman de Silva. Dawson McDonald, though, is making a move around the top with the Team Équipe rider from Quebec. Looks like Dawson McDonald got that one. Giuseppe. Daniel looked to be in the points as well. And maintaining that momentum. Maintaining that sprint is Dawson McDonald. He's going to see if he can stay away. Giuseppe Caron, his teammates on the chasing group. Unlike road riding, there's no team tactics that happen in track racing. And the chasers have pulled up. Giuseppe pulled up. The next riders decided, nah, I don't want to work that hard either. And that forced Antoine Dalterio from Team Équipe Quebec to take the front and try and do work. Now it's Daniel's turn. Looks like Dawson has about a quarter of a lap lead. So Dawson is increasing his lead as the pack set up for a little bit, but now it's picked up with Antoine and his province mate Joël trying to chase down Dawson McDonald, who looks smooth and steady. It's now Joël Dumang's turn to try and close down the gap. Seems to be the same 4 riders that are working at the front. Spencer Strawn now moves up track. Sydney moving with him, leaving 4 City Velodrome riders on the front, but the pace is slowed down. It's about a half a lap lead for Dawson McDonald. As the pace of the chasers increases and decreases, Dawson's lead will do the same, but he wants to try and catch on to the tail end of this group so he gains 20 points. Antoine's done a lot of work this race. He's still leading. Hoping that some of the other riders will help him out, preventing Dawson from catching on to the back of it. And Dawson's getting the bell laps. The next time he's around, he'll get points. And as that happens, Team NCCH rider is accelerating. Ethan Sidlington initiated that, but Joel's moving around him. Kobe's in there, and Sydney's got those boosters. He just puts those on and accelerates past everybody. Got turbo speed, that kid. So it looks, right at the line. Looks like Justin may have gotten 2nd place points, Sydney 3rd place points. Still with half a lap lead and having gained 5 points on that last set is Dawson McDonald. So the current standings, we have Dawson McDonald, who's currently trying to catch the main group, has 10 points. Justin Correa and Giuseppe Carone each have 3 points. Sydney Flagiole Bray and Daniel Nordman de Silva each have 2. Antoine Delterio and Kobe Liberty each have 1 point. There are 2 sprint laps remaining. And it looks like that's another 20 points for Dawson McDonald. His hard work paid off. He now has 30 points. Unless another rider also laps the field, it looks like they'll be hard to, well, he won't be able to be caught for the win. Coming over the top in the green helmet, we have rider Giuseppe Carone. Strong acceleration, strong gap. Giuseppe currently has 3 points. He's going to try and lap the field and gain 23 points. Joel is chasing down. Right behind Joselle, we have Axel. Behind Axel, we have Sydney. Looks like the chasing group is quite comfortable, just maintaining a steady pace. As Giuseppe is still maintaining his lead. He's got about a quarter of a lap on the rest of the group. The rest of the group is now looking over their shoulders, no one wanting to use too much energy. They seem somewhat content to let Giuseppe continue to ride away from them. But they're attentive, this main group is attentive, and accelerating is Oliver Campbell, representing Midweek Cycling Club. And this is the bell lap for Giuseppe. Next time across the white line are points. If Giuseppe stays in the lead and gains those 5 points, he'll move into 2nd place overall. But it looks like the chasing field is coming up fast on his heels. And Giuseppe gets those 5 points. Looks like Sydney and his teammate Dawson got the next two sets of points as Sydney continues that momentum around and gains a gap on the rest of the group. Rider number 43, Philippe Gélinas, you're being asked to come off track. Rider number 43, you're being asked to come off track. Excellent effort. Excellent effort there by Philippe Gélinas, Club Cycliste Amour. So currently we have Sydney in the orange helmet. And Daniel riding with them. They're almost half a lap on the lead. To give you an idea of overall standings at the moment, we have Dawson McDonald, the only rider to lap the field, with 32 points. Giuseppe Caron with 8 points. Sydney Flagioli-Bray with 5 points. Sydney's currently on track, ahead of everybody with Daniel. Daniel has 2 points. So the two riders that are currently crossing the finish line, the orange helmet has 5 points, the white helmet has 2 points. With 5 laps to go, those two are going to try and stay ahead. If Sydney succeeds in getting the final points, he'll move up with 10 points with the possibility of finishing second overall. Those two are working really well together as the chasing group has sat up, taking a bit of a breather with 4 laps to go. If the chase group stays nice and slow, it'll give Sydney and Daniel a chase to catch them, and then they'll both get 20 points as well. With 3 laps to go and about just over a quarter of a lap. It's a big ask of the two lead riders. And there's been an attack off the front. That's Axel Froner again trying to get ahead of everybody. Antoine Dalterio staying ahead of him, but it looks like Sydney and Daniel are working well together. Pace of the chase group has picked up significantly as it's all strung out. 2 laps to go for the main group as these two riders now get the bell lap. They're on the last lap. They'll be fighting for 5 points. This is the bell now for the main peloton. They're on their last lap. It looks like Sydney is ahead. Sydney will get the 5 points. Daniel will get the 3 points as a Forest City Callisto rider has, big acceleration for 3rd place points, and looks like Justin got 3rd place points. Dawson got 1st place points. Remember, Dawson was almost untouchable in that as he was leading everyone with 32 points. As our beam counters sort out all the points, we'll give you an update on the podium in just a few moments. And with 33 points, Dawson McDonald looks to be the winner. In 2nd place with 10 points, we have Sydney Flagioli-Bray. In 3rd place with 8 points, Giuseppe Caron. The next event is the Cat 3 men points race final.
Take a course, like you have to do an orientation before you go on the track. You can't just take your bike and go up there.
You have to have a fixed thing.
Yep.
I can't bring my bike. I have to change it.
Some bikes have the hub that you can flip, right?
Our first adult race of the evening. These are the Cat 3 men points race. It too is 10 kilometers long, or 40 kilometers. The categories for adults is based on ability. Rider number 117, please return to bike check. Reminder to all racers, rider number 117, once your race is completed, please go directly to bike check. That's Randy Skidmore from Gravenhurst. Reminder to all athletes, before every race, you need to go through bike check before proceeding directly to the start line. After this race, we have the Open Women's Points Race. Martin Gledhill is the rider in green, wearing number 115. Behind him is Hans Korten, representing Kurzawinski Coach. 117 is Randy Skidmore in blue and black. Then we have Christian Despati from Dark Horse Flyers. There's Neil Armstrong in this group, Mike Doble, Martin Gledhill, Don Smart, Joe Tran, Richard Westwood. Like the races before this one, this will start with the neutral lap. Once the pistol is fired, that means the race has begun. The pistol will only be fired if the group is together. For some of these riders, it might be their first time racing. And if anyone in the stands ever wanted to come and try the track, there's lots of opportunity to do that. The Mattamy National Cycling Center offers try the track, certification, skills and drills, kids programming, adult programming. There's something for everyone that's offered here at the Velodrome. If you want to see how you can become involved, then stop by the information desk on your way out. And as the riders come off the rail, they'll form a pack. If for whatever reason during the race there's a mechanical issue, riders are given 5 laps to get back into the race. They'll make their way over to the back straight. A commissaire will then let them know when to go into the group. And the pistol is fired. That means the race is on. Again, it's 40 laps, 10 kilometers. Many of these riders may not have ridden with each other, unlike the juniors where a lot of them race together all the time. For some, this might be their first time racing in this category at an O-Cup race. There's lots of shoulder checking going on. Looks like Christian Dispati has decided to try and get ahead. He's got his arms draped over the handlebars. He's been watching some pro racers on the track. Decides to pull up. Wasn't a big enough lead to make it worth his effort. Two Krzyzewinski riders are now on the front. Yep. Warning to rider 116, Hans Porten, for crossing on the blue band. Reminder to all riders, the blue zone is considered out of bounds. You need to stay above blue. Oh. The warning was for riding on the blue band. Hans is the leader that's just kind of dangling out the front. Everyone else is just letting him hang out there. Neil Armstrong is the rider who's at the bottom with the long sleeves. Richard Westwood is the one that just came over. He's now leading on the red line. Hans accelerates a little bit, taking Martin Gledhill with him. Christian from the Dark Horse Flyers has made his way to the first two. Doesn't look like that was a big enough effort to gain a big enough gap. The group is still all together. This category is made up of riders of all ages and abilities. It's more of an entry-level race. Hans is still dangling. And this is the signal for the bell lap. So currently we have Hans, then Neil, then Christian. Fourth is Chris, or Richard Westwood. As they accelerate into the final stretch, there's 5 points for the first person. Looks like Neil got those 5 points. Hans got second place points, which is 3. Group has slowed down a little bit. They're catching their breath. The riders that were leading this race have pulled up track. They've slowed down a little bit. Remember, the only thing that really matters in this race are the points that happen after the bell lap, or if a rider tries to lap the field and succeeds, they then get 20 points. Neil with the long sleeves currently has 5 points. Hans has 3 points. Christian has 2 points. And Richard has 1 point. There are 3 more opportunities to gain points. Neil and Hans have been quite happy to hang out at the front of this group, though I'm sure they're listening for anything that might happen behind them. Listening for any rider that might accelerate and try and come up and over, much like Richard Westwood is attempting to do right now. He's come over Hans. Hans has him in his sights. Joe Tran from Midweek Club is chasing. Looks like Hans is just going to let Richard go as he continues to get a bigger gap. This is where things get tricky. Richard's going to have to ask himself, in 4 laps, can he stay out front ahead of those guys? No, he's decided to sit up and wait. It's just not a big enough gap, not enough gas in the tank to make that work. He might try again later in the race. And Christian now is taken to the front. Hans once again right on his wheel. Joe trying to close that gap, but it looks like Richard might come up and around and close that gap for him. So Christian and Hans are trying to work together. Joe's still trying to close that gap. Richard's happy just sitting there. Neil looks to be in control of his race, even though there's gaps between them as well. Joe's decided to sit up. Richard's decided to follow him, giving Neil a chance to pull through as the bell is rung. Christian and Hans are fighting for those 5 points for the first person to cross the line the next time around. Neil, who currently has 5 points from the last sprint, is getting passed by Joe and Richard. Valiant effort by those two. Richard's still trying to gain contact with Christian and Hans. Points will be revealed now. So with 5 points on the last one was Christian Despatie, moving him into first place with 7. Hans got another 3 points for 6 points overall, sitting in second. Neil Armstrong unfortunately tried. He's sitting in third with 5 points from the first sprint. Richard Westwood has 3 points. First from the first sprint, 2 from the second. And Joe Tran moved in there to get his point on that last effort. So Joe sits in 5th with 1 point. Richard and Hans are currently ahead of Christian. Looks like a lot of effort came out of those legs for Christian on that last sprint. But Hans and Richard look to be working well together. Richard got a little bit of a gap. He's going to have to work hard to close that again. Anytime a rider pulls up track and comes down and there's space between himself and the rider in front of him, it's effort to catch. They have to work hard, and that takes energy that comes away from when they try and sprint later. So riders are doing their best to, when they pull up, to come right back down into the slipstream of the rider in front of them. As Hans and Richard are taking half-lap pulls, Christian is currently sitting behind them. And then we have Joe sitting on Randy Skidmore's wheel. Hans and Richard seem to be riding away from the rest of their competitors. Christian's just settling in, maintaining his position on the track as this group has split up. So Richard and Hans, they're looking to catch not this group in front of them, but the next group of 3. So this group of 3 now crossing the finish line is considered the peloton. So Hans and Richard have to move up and around these 2 riders and into the next 3 in order to gain 20 points. And it looks like they caught. There's a bell lap. So Hans and Richard gained 20 points just as the bell is rung. Neil is now trying to race out. The next person across gets 5 points. Neil wants those 5 points. Oh. The new leader on the track is Christian. But points are given to the main group. So it looks like Christian had effort. His effort paid off with 5 points. Neil got himself another 3 points as he's led out the main pack. Joe and Don Smart are working hard to maintain contact with the 3 riders in front of them. Those 3 riders are looking to catch number 113, Christian, in order to make a peloton at the lead. It looks like Richard and Hans have once again decided to take control of this race. And if they pass Christian, they'll then have a lap up on everybody. And Richard is currently the leader on the track, the group that just passed the finish line. There's 7 laps to go. And Hans has accelerated away from Richard a little bit and decided to wait for his buddy and continue to ride together, help save some energy. Christian's been on his own for a large part of this race. Hans happy to sit on Richard's wheel. Said, nope, I don't want to take the lead that time. All right, so Hans and Richard are now passing the finish line, are the leaders on the track. They're about to pass Randy Skidmore, number 117, in the blue and the black. Christian is losing a little bit of steam. Currently in overall standings, Hans has 26 points, Richard has 23 points, so they're looking to win. It's going to be a close finish for those 2 riders. Sitting in third is Christian Despatie with 12. Neil Armstrong in 4th place right now with 8 points. With 3 laps to go, these 2 riders. Hans is sitting in a great position to win this race. Again, he has 26 points. Richard has 23. Whoever crosses the line first gets 5 points. The second place person gets 3 points. Hans is happy to let Richard do the bulk of the work. And this is the bell lap. 1 more lap for these riders until the finish of the race. Christian is now crossing the finish line. He's currently the 3rd rider on the track. And Hans has decided to accelerate away from Richard to increase his lead. And Hans with 5 more points, Richard with 3 more points. And Christian has spent the majority of his time alone, has racked up a few more points to maintain 3rd position, unofficially. Reminder to Randy Skidmore that when you come off the track, you need to go directly to bike check. The next race will be the women's points race final. This is an open event. I just did. Reminder to all women before making your way onto the track to have gone through bike check first. currently at the announcer stand, we have Kate O'Brien and Monique Sullivan, Team Canada's team sprint team. So Monique and Kate, since this is an event that's all about sprinting, what are some things that these riders can keep in mind when they're going for points?
I didn't think with that other camera you have to be standing
I think
up
just making
because
sure
you
that
gotta pan,
you're
like,
using
20
your
a bit,
energy
like
wisely, so when you're in the
120
pack,
degrees,
making
whereas
sure that
this
you're
one,
drafting as much as possible and
more
saving
like-
your energy for when you do make your attack
you
off the
move it at
front.
all?
If you are making an attack off the front, making sure you're staying as close to the black line as possible, just not wasting any energy riding too far up the track.
Okay, okay.
And when these riders are looking to attack off the front or the back, attack at any time, are there benefits to being at a certain part of the track, like top or bottom, or how do they best accelerate?
I mean, if you're trying to make a big move to get around the whole pack, it's best to come around from the top of the track just to get that extra momentum coming down the banking. You also can be a little bit more sneaky. Sometimes people won't notice that you're making an attack, and then that can give you a bit of a head start. But yeah, catching the group off guard is always a good idea, so the lap right after a sprint is often a good time to make a big move because the pack sort of relaxes for a second and then you can get away.
All right, so this race is also 10 kilometers, 40 laps.
It's actually much easier because it's easier to follow because you have a circle, like a metal circle with spans that are connecting. Right. This makes it easier.
Riders in this category are made up from racers in Ontario, Quebec, BC, New York, Michigan, Alberta. Riders have come from all over for this race. This is a neutral lap. When they come around and if they're a pack, the commissaire will signal the start with a pistol shot. And that sound signals the beginning of the race. This race is made up of riders of all categories. Master women, elite women, junior women, not junior women. Master women, elite women of all categories. Riding off the front, we have Valina Sintal from Wheels of Bloor. Alison Daniel in purple is right behind her with the fluorescent yellow socks and arm and leg bands. Sitting in third spot, it looks like the pack is nice and content just to let these riders dangle out the front. So sitting in third, we have Chelsea Knapp from Healthy and Happy Racing. And Carol Deavy from the Ottawa Bicycle Club is next in line as Lisa Ulrich closes that gap. Valina seems quite content just to sit at the front, dictate the pace of the group. So through the first 4 laps of racing, this race has been pretty tame. Valina still leading out the rest of the group. Alison happy to sit on her wheel, get the draft. Chelsea Knapp has decided to accelerate and go around the first 2. She's got a gap. Gap on the group that Valina is looking to close. Still staying in the same spot is Alison Daniel. So because these are all senior and master riders, there are no gear restrictions in this category. Racers are racing in all kinds of different gears. Monique, when you're selecting gears for races, what are some of the things that you consider when deciding what gear to put on your bike?
Picking your gear is a really important part of the race because you're sort of stuck with it for the whole race. If you pick too small of a gear, it means that you won't really be able to hit the higher max speeds because you're going to spin out. But it also means that the pedaling will be a little bit easier. If your gear's too big, every time you go to accelerate, it's going to take a lot more out of your legs. So it's sort of like when you're in the gym, if you're in a bigger gear, it's like lifting more weight. So you can only sort of sprint on that so many times before your legs get too tired. So it really is finding that balance of whatever you're comfortable with and what you've trained with.
And the bell lap is rung. Valina was once again leading everyone out as Candice Moot accelerates over the front. And she's overtaken by the pink rider. Looks like Vlada, who's a master rider, is sitting in third wheel. 122, that's Ariane Bonhomme from the Cycle Riopus, who decides to just keep on going. She got her 5 points and said, nope, I want to try and take a lap. She's continuing to accelerate. Pulling up track, now pulling through is Vlada. Vlada was a really strong speed skater as a junior. So currently chasing, we have Vlada, Danielle Moulis. Behind her is a Forest City Velodrome rider. Then there's Aga, another master racer, pulling away from the pack. Candice Moot is the racer that just did her turn at the front. Then Vlada, then Aga, then Danielle. Aubrey, who's a sprinter, has decided to try and chase. She's trying to catch up to the chasing group. Right on her wheel is Lisa Ulrich. And a valiant effort there by Sarah Giovanetti, who's looking to get onto the back. So Ariane has almost half a lap lead on the rest of this group. They're a nice number in this chasing peloton. We'll see if they can pick up the pace. Val Gregorio in pink and gray is the rider from New York. She's going to do her best to maintain contact with the group. And the group has slowed down a little bit. With only a few riders willing to chase, that's going to go into Ariane's favor as she's looking to lap the field and gain 20 points. So with almost just shy of half a lap, is Ariane in the front. Main group behind her is being led by Danielle Moulis, who just pulled up. Vlada once again being given the lead of the chasing pack. They've eased up, allowing these other little stragglers to catch back in. See if they can make contact again with the end of the group. But Ariane's got her sights set on them. And the bell is being run for Ariane. As she can see the pack in sights. Aubrey's decided to attack the main peloton. She wants to try and get points. Lisa Ulrich was ready for that, trying to get right on her wheel. Followed by Sarah. And Ariane got 5 points. Looks like Aubrey's gonna make her way around, try and get the 3 points that are next in line. 3 points for Ariane, 2 points for Sarah.
Should I be zooming in, or?
So Ariane has made her way past 3 riders. She has to maintain contact with the next lead group on the pack, which is just crossing the start-finish line. She's working hard to gain contact with the end of the group. It looks like she's going to succeed. All right, she succeeded in gaining that lap, so there's another 20 points that she can add to her point standing. She now leads, but she's in contact with the rest of the peloton. So, because Ariane got the 5 points in the first 2 sprints and 20 points for lapping the field, she now has 30 points with less than halfway to go in the race. Sitting in second place, tied with 3 points, is Aubrey De Silva and Candice Moot. And then we have 3 riders with 2 points apiece, and that's Vlada, Sarah, and Danielle. And everybody's together with 14 laps to go. Once again, the pace has relaxed. Lalena's back in her favorite spot, right at the front. When you see the riders shoulder checking, it means that they're scouting to see who's around them. They'll all have come into this race with a strategy, with certain riders that they want to stay extremely attentive towards. Many of these riders know each other. They know their strengths and their weaknesses. Val's getting into Valina's slipstream there. She's going to try and draft, save some energy for when the next acceleration occurs. And Ariane cuts right through the middle, and she's off again. Remember, she has 30 points. She's almost untouchable to win this, but she wants to prove that she really is the winner of this race. As Candice Moot follows suit, chasing her down. Then we have Aubrey, then Vlada. There's points on the line. Aubrey's looking to maintain her 3rd position, but she's being passed by, I believe, it's Danielle Mullins. And Ariane gets 5 points, Candice 3, Sarah 2, Aubrey 1,
Wow, that was like magic.
All right, riders are coming up to 8 laps to go. Candice with the disc wheel is out front. Current standings are Ariane Bonhomme with 35 points. Candice has 6 points, currently in 2nd spot. Tied for 3rd place with 4 points is Aubrey De Silva and Sarah Giovanetti. Tied for 2 points, or tied with 2 points, we have Vlada Dakina and Danielle Mullins. So 2nd and 3rd placings will come down to the final sprint. But Ariane has this one tied up.
Okay,
Ariane has won every single sprint as well as lapping the field. With 6 laps to go, and the pace has slowed down for the group. This will be one of their last chances to rest their legs, get their breathing under control before they put themselves through a world of pain again to get points at the end. Ariane and Candice sitting at the front. Everyone happy just to go at the pace that they've set.
Streaming it live. It's not.
Oh, spoke too soon. Sarah Giovanetti has accelerated off the group. Remember, Sarah is currently tied in third place with 4 points. If she can get the next 5 points, she's going to move herself into second spot.
Online, yeah, live.
Peloton seems quite happy to let her dangle out there. Remember, Ariane cannot be caught, so she's quite happy to let others make a move. And just like that, it looks like
tally ho, tally ho, tally ho. Yes,
Sarah has gained half a lap on the group. With 3 laps to go, if she can catch the main group, she'll gain 20 points. But Ariane and Candice are picking up the pace, making it harder for her to succeed in catching them. Still sitting at half a lap. The pace of the chase group has increased significantly.
Now. I got drunk with power. I'm sorry.
Candice is now leading them out. Valina's second wheel. Danielle Mullins in third wheel. She had a good acceleration on the last sprint. And it's the bell lap for Sarah Giovanetti. Remember, second and third place are undecided. It all comes down to who gets points on this next lap. And Danielle shows some increase in speed again as she accelerates over the pack. So 5 points for Sarah. Danielle is coming in for 3 points. Candice with 2. And Valina gets 1 point for all of her work at the front of the pack. Next up is Cat 2 men's points race final.
Whew, what a rush. I'd like to thank the switcher for doing such a great job, and the Academy of Cycling Sciences, and I'm overwhelmed. Thank you very much. You guys are fantastic. I couldn't be me without you being you.
So in that last race, we saw a mix of equipment. Some people had race wheels, aero wheels on, and some had more training wheels. Kate, what are some of the advantages of different equipment?
Equipment can play quite a big role in the race, actually. So, especially for wheels, when we're talking about that, wheels will make quite a big difference. So for us, if we use double disc wheels, it'll be between probably 8/10 and a second difference on a 200-meter time trial. So that's just for the wheels alone. So if you start looking at all of this kind of aero equipment and put it all together, it can play quite a big role.
So making their way to the rail, Cat 2 men. Another event that has a mix of equipment. These riders generally have raced before, representing all different teams.
Should I stay zoomed in or should I vary it? Because right now I'm not zoomed in.
So next up to race, we have the Cat 2 men. This is a large category. Racing is Dan.
Yeah, okay, it's zoomed in as far as it goes, basically. I'm going to stay on this.
Racing, we have Dan Benderka, David Belenki, Mark Buckaway, who's currently sitting at the front.
No, I'm saying that so if you need to adjust
Han Yan Chu,
over on that side if you can, then you should do it.
Charles Cormier, Killian Cummings, Eric Curtis, Chris Dunbar, Jim Edmondson, Marshall Edinger, Jamie Fitzgerald, Matthew Ford,
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Jim Gantley, Darren Hobson, Derek Coops, Andrew Olive, Dan Thompson, Enoch C., and Richard Ugaldi. So just after the last race, we had a rider who went down. So currently they're just checking the track. So Monique, what are some of the things that they're looking at when they're checking the track?
Well, they have to make sure that there's no big marks in the track. If there's a big, like if there's a hole, they need to cover up the hole. Otherwise, you can catch your wheel on it. It could cause more accidents. They're also probably just making sure that there isn't anything on the track that caused the accident, or any bike parts that might have got broken off or something like that. I think that's it.
So when they're repairing a track, like if there's a little bit of a gouge, what type of equipment are they using to do that?
Well, usually they just cover it up with a piece of tape, or if it's really bad, overnight they might repair it with some like putty or something to fill in the hole. But usually a piece of tape is enough to make sure there's not any more accidents.
So on this track, because it's banked, riders do need to maintain a certain speed in order to stay on the track. So if they get riding too slow, they'll slip off. It's generally about 30 kilometers an hour to stay on the track. And as the Category 2 men make their way onto the track, so this is a neutral lap. They'll want to stay together as they come through the home straight on the next time. This is a 10-kilometer race, 40 laps. And the race has begun. Like all the races previously, they're quite happy to settle into a pace, staying together as a group. The higher up you are on the track, the more speed you need in order to stay up high. It also takes a lot more effort to ride high on the track, but riders do that for a bunch of reasons. One is that if you're high up, you can keep a better eye on what's going on in the race. It also means that if you want to attack, you can accelerate a little bit quicker. The pace is picked up a bit, but they're still all together. Still at a comfortable speed. That's Charles Cormier, who's made his way over the top and up to the front. He's picked it up right on his wheel is Killian Cummings, followed by Dan Bandurka. Midweek rider is closing the gap, bringing the rest of the peloton with them. Valiant effort. Doesn't look like it succeeded in gaining a gap, but it did succeed in picking up the pace as the group is all strung out. Just a reminder to all the racers, the Canadian College of Massage is currently on track. They're offering complimentary massage to the racers. You'll see them in the infield. They have a nice big sign up. They're hanging out, ready for customers. So if you'd like to have a little bit of massage work done, you can make your way over to your new friends.
So there's a lot of different strategies you can do in a points race. This one is more of a sprint style points race, so the riders are waiting for each sprint to come around and sprinting just shorter sprints periodically. Sometimes you'll see points races where the riders will attack for a really long time trying to tire out the bunch. So if you're more of an endurance type athlete, pure endurance, you'll want to get to the front and keep the pace really fast for a long time. But here we have a sprint coming up. We have Jim Edmondson on the front trying to keep the pack behind him. He's doing a pretty good job. Oh, and that is an illegal move right there. That was really dangerous. So Chris Dunbar passed underneath there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but he will not get those points because you're not allowed to pass underneath that way. Yeah, he passed underneath. So when there's a rider in the pole lane, you always have to pass on the right over top, just to make sure that everyone can stay upright. So the pack has slowed down now. Everyone's a bit tired from that sprint, so they're going to be catching their breath and getting ready for the next sprint. So I may have miscalled that move earlier. Oh, Mark Buckaway is currently on the front, and he's pulling off, and Jim Edmondson is back on the front. Probably should do something. I'm sorry, but it was so sketchy. Sorry, I won't do that anymore. Okay, what's happening? So Jim Edmondson is still on the front, controlling the pace. 102. Matthew Ford is right on his wheel comfortably. The whole pack is just sitting comfortably behind him. There's not a lot of movement right now. Oh, a warning issued to rider number 98, Chris Dunbar, for passing underneath on the blue band. Oh, and here we have a move from Marshall Aidinger over the top. He's got a nice little gap from the field, but the field is chasing him down quite quickly. We have Matthew Ford that chased him down, and now the whole pack is rolling around faster. We're going to wait to see how they react to this. So now we have number 95 going off the front, Charles Cormier. There's So Chris Dunbar will lose his points from the last sprint because he was relegated for that move. But now the riders just saw one lap to go, so this is the sprint lap. Charles Cormier is leading the sprint, but there's a big attack from the back, and 94 is coming around the top. Oh, number 111, Richard Ugaldi.
As we wait for the points to be updated, it was a strong sprint there from these riders. All right, so it looks like Matthew Ford and Richard Ugaldi, both representing La Bicicleta, are now tied in first with 5 points apiece. Richard gaining points on that last one. The second rider on that last sprint was Derek Coops. He has 3 points. He's tied for third place with Killian Cummings. Andrew Olive gained 2 points on that last lap. Darren Hobson gained 1 point in the last sprint. The riders are again once together at a moderate pace. Mark Buckaway leading leading out the group, but he's highly attentive with all of his shoulder tucking as he moves up, gives someone else a chance to come out front, and that's Marshall Edinger, who pulls up, taking Matthew Ford with him. So currently on the blue line, we have Marshall Edinger. On the black line is Enoch C. from Midweek Club. And an acceleration again by Matthew Ford. Remember, Matthew has 5 points already. It's a nice, big, massive acceleration by him. And chasing him is Chris Dunbar, followed by Enoch C. And then Charles Cormier. Those four, it doesn't look like any of them really want to get away. They just don't want to give Matthew a chance to get ahead of everyone else. But pulling right through is Charles Cormier. We'll see if he can accelerate just a little bit more to gain a gap, but he's being watched closely by Matthew Ford. Enoch C covered that move as well. And with 13 laps to go, there's 2 more sprints up for grabs. Dan is pulling off the front from the Lapdog Cycling Club, the nice bright green bike. He's got a gap on Matthew. Matthew's done a lot of work in this race to keep everything in check. Dan doesn't look totally committed as he keeps shoulder checking, but as he does that, Matthew moves off the front and lets Enoch try and do the rest of the work to close that gap. And the bell is rung, so the next time around there's going to be points. And Jim Gantley is making a move, a really strong move as he accelerates. He's closely matched. As these riders come in, looks like 5 points. 5 points for Jim Gantley. 3 points for Darren Hobson. They're both making their move onto the scoreboard for the first time. They have a good lead. We'll see if they work together to try and lap the field. Attempting to close that gap is Jim Edmondson. Darren looked a little bit hesitant the last time there was a pull-up. We'll see. Pack seems to be closing in on them. So Darren Hobson is currently leading out Jim Gantley, and Jim Edmondson has made a connection. Those are your first 3 riders. The pack is being led by Matthew Ford, who's animating once again by picking up the pace. We'll see if the peloton stays committed to this chase. Now pulling, we have Killian Cummings, who's pulled up, and Derek decided he didn't want to lead. He's quite happy to let those 3 stay ahead. And the pack all sits up once again, giving the 3 first riders a chance to gain some ground. With 6 laps to go, it's Dan who's back on the front, no, Enoch's not going to take a pull, so they're going to say, all right, Matthew Ford, you're the strong one. You've got points on the board. This is your race to lose, so he's going to give it everything he can to try and catch these first 3 leaders. So currently, Matthew Ford, who's the first chaser, is tied in first place with 5 points with Jim Gantley and Killian Cummings. Jim Gantley is one of these first 3 readers, so Richard was trying to catch them so that he had a chance of winning this race. This group of 3 are doing a great job. They're motivated to stay ahead. They're working together with 3 laps to go. Pack is still a little bit disorganized, but now Now we have Eric Curtis, who's making a move. A strong move, as another rider goes up and over the track. That rider in the green helmet is Andrew Olive. Andrew Olive is catching up as Eric Curtis loses some speed. And it's the bell lap for the finish, and it looks like there might be 4 people trying to go for points. So in that group, we have Jim Edmondson, Jim Gantley, and Darren Hobson, and just catching on to the back is Andrew Olive. And as they head into the home straight, big efforts. And it looks like Jim Gantley got the leading points, which will put him into the lead overall. Next on the track, we have the junior men's points race. So now that these riders have finished their 40-lap points race, how does it feel when you've put in a maximum effort? What are some of the things that they can do to recover quickly for their next race?
The most important thing will be to keep spinning their legs as soon after the race as possible. So most of these riders will probably get on rollers and spin their legs out for 10 to 15 minutes just to flush out all the lactic acid and make their legs feel supple again for the next race. They'll probably have a snack and then just sit around and wait for the next one.
So, Kate, how important is it for a warm-up? How important is the warm-up for a race like this?
Certainly for us, warm-up is massively important. We kind of, you have to come up with the best warm-up for you, so often that takes a bit of time and some experimentation to figure out what will make you the least tired but the most warm for whatever race you're doing, and yeah, it'll play a big role in how good they are just right at the very start of the race.
Great, so making their way to the rail, this is the junior men points race. The riders in this race are representing Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah, that's gonna. Oh. I was just texting you that I'm in Milton again at the Velodrome, the cycling thing. If you were trying to get a hold of me or something. How's it going?
This will be a pretty important race for these riders. It might be the last chance that they get to race against each other before the national championships coming up. So it's a good chance for them to learn how everybody races and to see where their strengths and weaknesses line up with their competition for nationals coming up in April.
How important is nationals for these riders?
It's pretty important. I'm pretty sure it's the qualifier for the Junior World Championship, so it's a pretty big deal. As a junior rider, Junior World Championships is the biggest race that you get to do, so having that opportunity to race internationally as a junior can be really important. So these riders are getting ready for their neutral lap. It's going to be important for them to get into a really compact group for the race to start. The reason why you have a neutral lap is so that every rider starts on an even playing field. So the race has not now started, and there are 60 laps to go. So 15-kilometer race. It looks like everyone is just settling in slowly to start, which seems to be the trend this morning with the points races. We have Josh Schenker on the front right now. He's pulling up. He doesn't want to be at the front, so Chris Ernst is now leading the way. No one has really committed to anything yet. Everyone is still sort of feeling their legs out and waiting for a chance to make a move. This should be a pretty exciting race. I know there's a lot of riders here from Ontario and Quebec, so I have a feeling there's a pretty good rivalry between those two provinces. Oh, there seems to be some movement at the back here. It looks like someone might be getting ready to make a move, but no one wants to commit just yet. So number 5, Lucas Taylor, seems to be accelerating at the back, starting to make his way forward, and Jordan Jones is on his wheel. So number 12, Felix Pelletier is now making a big move off the front. He's got Lucas Taylor right on his wheel, and then Jordan Jones behind him. Adam Lefebvre is behind them. So they have a very small gap off the front, but it doesn't look like it's going to stick for this time. The pack is strung out now, so the riders are going quite a bit faster. When the speed increases, usually the pack strings out into a straight line because they just don't have enough energy to be bunched up and going that extra distance higher up on the track. So Josh Schenker is on the front. He just pulled off, and Tristan Guillemette is now on the front. The riders are looking around. They are being careful for other moves coming off the front. But again, it's sort of reshuffling now. There's now 2 laps showing on the board, so that means they have 2 laps until they fight for sprints. So right now the riders are just setting up their sprint. So they don't want to commit too early, but they want to make sure they're at the front to get those points. So now we have Eric Rank off the front. He has a small gap. He might want to start sprinting now while he has that gap. So number 10, Adam Lefebvre, is now making his move. He's got Lucas Taylor on his wheel, and they have Josh Schenker behind him. It's a very strong attack from Adam, and he is continuing going. So he's keeping the pressure on after collecting his 5 points to try to tire out the rest of the field. Lucas Taylor is now on the front, and he is driving hard. Josh Schenker is now on the front, and then Tristan Guillemette. So we do see that 2 groups have now formed, and you might see, now we have Tristan Guillemette on the front. And the pressure has come off a little bit, and we will be back to Grupo Compacto for the field. The pace is still going pretty fast here, so it's 47 laps left, so there's 7 laps until the next sprint. So these riders are just trying to figure out what their best strategy will be to collect points in the next sprint. So the points right now are Adam Lefebvre in first with 5 points. Lucas Taylor has 3 points. Josh Schenker 2 points, and Tristan Guillemette 1 point. So that's the point standing after the first sprint. In 5 laps, we're going to have another sprint. So these riders, the way that this race is and we have an attack from Chris Ernst underneath. He's got a nice gap. He really surprised the group there. We have, I think, Tristan chasing behind him, and then Jordan behind him, and they really shut this attack. Felix Pelletier, is now in the lead, and he is driving hard on the front. The pack has been able to follow this move, so the pack is still together. Now we have Jordan Jones on the front. He just pulled off, and no one else wants to take the move. So this pack is slowing down. No one else wants to keep the pressure on. There's a move underneath here from Ian Curry, made a really strong move underneath. And then Tolomeo is on his wheel, and they have a nice gap on the field now. That was a really good counterattack. Now we are sprinting for points on this lap, so this is a big sprint for these riders. Ian Curry has dropped his counterpart, Eric, behind him. Gabriel is coming very fast behind him, and it looks like Jordan Jones will take the points on that one over Gabriel. So now number 5, Lucas Taylor has made a counterattack, so he sprinted, and then Jordan is on his wheel, and Tristan behind him. So those 3 have a small gap on the field, but it looks like they are not going to commit to the move right now. Tristan is keeping the pressure on. Tristan. Lucas. So the 3 leaders have now pulled up, so we're back to Grupo Compacto, and we will see how these riders decide to make their next move. Number 12, I think. So Felix is off the front at the moment, but is still sort of waiting for his chance to make a move. So we're almost at halfway down through this race now. The riders are going to start feeling a bit tired and are going to have to be a bit more careful when they make their moves. Those riders that have more of a sprint are going to be sitting right behind someone's draft and saving their energy for the sprint laps. The riders with less of a sprint are going to be trying to keep this race really fast and tire those sprinters out. So now we have number 8, Chris Ernst, off the front. He had a really great pursuit this morning. 15 is behind. Sorry. Oh, and here we have a move over the top from Felix. And he will overtake the lead now. And Chris is matching his speed and has gotten right on his wheel. So now we have the field rolling pretty fast through this lap with Felix on the front. So the riders are seeing 34 laps. The riders are seeing 33 laps to go this time, which means they have 3 laps until they sprint. So they are getting ready to set up their sprint lap. As of right now, we have Jordan Jones in the lead with 5 points, Adam right behind him with 5 points, Lucas Taylor with 4 points, Gabriel Drapeau with 3 points, Josh Schenker with 2 points, and Ian Curry with 2 points. So the race is still very close. It's anybody's race at this point. They have 2 laps to go until they sprint. And we have Josh Schenker on the front with Jordan Jones going over the front with a strong move. And he will put the pressure on for this lap with Lucas Taylor right on his wheel and Tristan on his wheel. There's some pressure coming up behind. That was a very close sprint between Josh, Tristan, and Lucas. We'll wait for the results of that sprint. Here we have a move off the front by Jordan Jones. And Jordan Jones has been very active in this race. He's really putting the pressure on these other riders, and he has a nice gap now. So Jordan will be settling in here to try to take a lap on the field. The field is reacting quite strongly. We have Chris Ernst leading the charge with now Tristan is leading the chase, and Jordan is leading the race. He has about a quarter of a lap, and the pack has slowed down. So Jordan is going to start making some gains here. He almost has half a lap on the field, so he has to keep the pressure on. looks like the pack is starting to react again. We have Adam Lefebvre on the front. Now Chris Ernst is on the front, and they are trying to chase Jordan down. Jordan is holding his gap at about almost half a lap. And now we have Tristan and then Josh leading the charge with Felix now in the front. Ian is now in the front, and we have the pack working together to chase Jordan down. With four. So. The riders are seeing 3 laps to go now, and so the pack is going to want to catch Jordan before that. Oh, Ian is on the front. With Chris behind him and Gabriel behind him. The gap is getting smaller. So it looks, so Jordan has now given up on his attempt at a lap, and we have now 5 riders off the front heading into 22 laps to go. So we have Lucas Taylor now leading the charge. And Gabriel now attacking off the front with 1 lap to go. Lucas is chasing him down with Jordan on his wheel and Chris Ernst. Jordan is coming around to try to win this sprint. Gabriel is trying to hold him off underneath, but it looks like Jordan will take this sprint, followed by Chris, Gabriel, and Lucas Taylor. They do have a gap on the field, but it looks like they don't want to commit to this sprint. We have Tristan Guillemette now trying to bridge the gap from the pack to the lead group. And it looks like these riders could work together to keep this gap. Let's see what they do. So now we have Chris off the front and a group of 4 behind him. Let's see if they can work together to stay away from the pack. So we have an update on points here. So we have Jordan Jones leading the race with 10 points. Lucas Taylor behind him with 8 points. Josh Shanker with 7 points. Gabriel Drapeau-Goralski in 5 points. Adam Lefebvre in 5 points. Chris Ernst 4 points. Tristan Guillemette 3 points. And Ian Curry with 2 points. So we have 8 riders with points at the moment. And this race is still very close. There are 2 sprints left in this race, so lots still to happen.
The second camera there?
If one of these riders laps the field, they will get 20 points, and the race could be theirs.
The cable's not quite long enough. As soon as they add a second cable, it's all messed up.
So we are asking rider number 13, John Stewart, to remove themselves from the race.
Are you getting the feed okay with this, though?
Yeah. But it's just that super.
We do want to wish him a very happy birthday. Okay, the group is together now. We have Felix on the...
It's gone down to a nice relaxed pace for this group. Chris is very much aware. Chris is with the green socks. The pace picks up. That is Felix, who has accelerated over, and it looks to be Adam Lefebvre, who has really picked up the pace to catch him. We'll see if Adam goes around and tries to make it on his own. Jordan, though, Jordan once again, that kid has done a lot of work this race. And the group's all back together again. Pace is a little bit quicker. There's 2 sprints left to go. With 12 laps, it looks like Ian has decided to increase the pace a little bit. He's taking everybody with him. as Monique was saying earlier, this is when they want to start to think about where their position is for when the bell goes. Next time around, they'll get points. And Eric's really fighting. He wants those points. He had his fighter's face on, right on his wheel. We have Adam Lefebvre. Adam's been racing really strong so far. And as they head into the finishing straight, it's going to be a close one for points. Jordan is also up there. Oh. Jordan and Adam got the first 2 set of points. We'll see who was awarded what in just a moment. So as this race comes down to one more chance for points, the 5 points were given to Jordan, the 3 points given to Adam. So the 5 points to Jordan puts him in the lead with 15 points. Tied in second place is Lucas and Adam, both with 8, but a close behind them is Josh with 7 points, and then Gabriel and Chris Ernst both have 5. And off the front in the bright orange helmet, we have Eric Bartolomeo. And not digging too deep to chase him as the rest of the group. Jordan, who's done a lot of work this race, decides, no, I don't need to work on that one. And that sends Eric to the front. Chris, once again at the front, chasing down another break. Eric did a shoulder check to see where the group was. Not sure if it was to see if they'd catch him soon enough to put him out of this misery, or if it would be to put the guns on and try and get a little bit farther ahead. Looks like the group is going to catch him. Tristan from Team Equipe Quebec is taking his time and getting his wheel, and Ian Curry has accelerated over the top and gained a gap on the rest of the group. The group seems quite happy to let him do that. With 4 laps to go, we'll see if he can stay out front. Eric is animating again as he comes through. But Ian looks to be accelerating, going at a faster pace in this peloton at the moment. But Eric's working hard to chase it down. He's pulling everyone with him. Nope, not anymore. He pulls up. Those behind him say, eh. Group is set up. They're letting Ian gain more space between themselves. Just over a quarter of a lap is the lead. Final points race will be the Cat 1 men's points race after this. Reminded all those riders to go through bike check if you haven't already. And as we get the bell up for Ian, it looks like he's going to stay away from everyone. If he adds 5 points, that'll move him up to 7 points. And a big acceleration from Lucas Taylor. Jordan, though, once again, he's fighting for this podium. Man, as Ian crosses the finish line, oh, looks like Lucas got Jordan at the line. Strong finish by this group. That's an exciting race by these riders. So next up, Cat 1 men. They'll be racing 20 kilometers, 80 laps.
That was a great race from those junior boys. We have Jordan Jones finishing in the lead with 17 points, Lucas Taylor behind him at 11 points, Josh Shanker with 8 points, and Adam Lefebvre almost tying for third at 8 points, but he will finish fourth because he finished lower ranked in the last sprint. So that's how you break ties in a points race, it's your placing on the last sprint. We have Ian Curry in 5th place with 7 points, and Chris Ernst in 6th place with 5 points. So that was a great race. We're going to probably see a rematch of that at Nationals in a few months' time. So Lucas Taylor will be looking for revenge, and Josh Shanker will be looking for revenge there as well. Up next, we have the Cat 1 men's race, points race final for 20 kilometers. We will see Steve Bauer racing in this race. Steve Bauer has been doing a lot of work here at the Mattamy Cycling Center.
This is a nice big field. Lots of different strengths in this group. It's made up of sprinters and endurance riders. Steve Bauer is a Canadian Hall of Fame, just making his way to the rail now. Canadian Hall of Fame member, one of the first inductees into the Canadian Cycling Hall of Fame. This group is made up of master and elite riders. It should be pretty animated. There's some rivalries in this group as well that keep things interesting. Riders in this event come from Ontario, Quebec, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Michigan. This track is used quite a bit by American riders who travel a few hours to come to it. It is a world-class facility, one of the very few world-class facilities in North America. There are 23 riders who are starting this race. So this race is 80 laps, 20 kilometers long, once again starting with a neutral lap. This neutral lap gives riders a chance to seat themselves in the peloton, put them into the front or the middle, up track or down track. We haven't seen this in any other races, but sometimes a rider will throw themselves off the front as soon as the gun goes. And the race has begun. Accelerating a bit off the front. Is Michael Dega. Andy D'Angelo was letting him go. The rider in green looks to be Keith Garrison. So Michael Dega is off the front. Looks like he's holding a little bit back. It is a long race. Tommy Waldeck is the one who's just pulling up. Following him was Pierre-Andre Cote. Coming down track is an NCCH rider. Just playing a little bit, seeing what's going to happen. That Simon Fothergill on his wheel is Matt DeLuco. And with a big fly down the banking are two riders looking to close the gap.
Like, remember that movie with Rollerball?
So rider 61 is Steve McKee. Steve McKee is a very strong rider with a good acceleration. On his wheel is Brent Atkins. Steve McKee's been having really strong results at the Tuesday night weekly races. And pulling through now is Pierre-Andre Cote. Chasing him down. We'll see if, no, that rider decided not to, no, and then he changes riding again. Rider 82, that's Doral Pop. Decided to chase and then not chase and then chase again. Pulling the field around is Robert Hargrove. Looks like Pope's gonna pull up. Nope, changed his mind again. The rest of the riders pull through. Steve Bauer pulls up track, decides he's gonna have a go, see if he can get everyone down, but marking him is Steve McKee. Steve McKee and Steve Bauer, they both race quite a bit together. They know each other well. Those first 5 riders, as they head into the first set of points, looks like the points are gonna go to Pierre-Andre, then Steve McKee, then Steve Bauer, and 4th place points, that's 1 point. Looks like Stephen Keeping. We'll see if that's official in a moment. That effort really strung out the group. But the front of the race has slowed down a little bit, giving the back of the race a chance to pick up, get back in. The more riders there are on the track, strategy changes. So how important is position on the track when riders are racing, Monique?
Position is everything when you're racing on the track. So when you have a full field like this, there's a lot more room to hide. So the race can end up being a bit faster because there's more chances for recovery because there's more spaces to hide. But also it's harder to get from the back to the front. So here we have an attack off the front. We have Keith Garrison is in there. Chris Fierick is in there. And we have one more rider in there. They have very quickly gotten a quarter of a lap on the field, but the field is attacking quite quickly. So we have number 65 leading the charge from the pack, Timothy Burton, and Simon Fothergill leading the attack as well. So now we have sort of 3 groups on the track. And now it looks like this might form one group off the front, or the pack might come together. So now we have it's a bit hard to see the numbers from here, but now we are coming around and we have Chris off the front, followed by Timothy, and Simon is in second now with the orange jersey. So the group has come back together, and everyone has slowed down. They're waiting for their next chance to make a move. There's 3 laps until the next sprint, so riders are looking to set that up. And we have Simon Fothergill rolling off the front here, and the pack is not responding yet. So the pack is not responding to this move. There's a bit of movement from the bottom with Michael Dega on the front, and now we have 61 Steve McKee chasing that down hard. The riders are going to get the bell when they come around, and there's 1 lap until the next sprint. So we also have 64 Steve McKee Brad Bradford and Doral Pop in there fighting for sprints, and looks like Brad Bradford got that one over Steve McKee. We have 6 riders off the front who do have a gap on the field, and let's see if they work together to keep this gap on the field. The field is chasing down, so they're going to have to keep the pressure on. We have Daryl Pope on the front, and he has his own gap, actually, and he's being chased down by Pierre-Andre Cote. Now we have, so Brent Atkins is in second right now, but he is a lap down, so he will not be able to help pull through with Doral, who is on the front. They are not allowed to work together, but Brent is allowed to sit on his wheel. Steve Bauer now leading the charge with a very strong attack. He has dropped the field behind him, but he is pulling up, and Robert Hargrove will take the charge, followed by Pierre-Andre Cote. Doral is still in the lead, but is looking around. The pack is being a bit hesitant to lead this chase. Number 65, Timothy Burton, is now on the front, followed by his teammate. Now, he has half a lap of a gap on this field. That's quite a strong lead, and the field is not really leading a charge right now. We have number 93, I think. Oh, we have 81 going around. William Nittinger. So William Nittinger is still leading the chase here and has got his own gap on the field. So now we have Doral in the front by half a lap, followed by William. And the field is keeping... Sorry? Matt DeLuco is starting to build up some speed at the top, but it will be... Oh, the riders are getting the bell now, so... Doral is leading the race going into this bell lap. Chris Farek is gaining on William, and it has Simon on his heel coming into these points. So it looks like it will be Doral, Chris, Simon for that sprint. Riders are keeping the pressure through this sprint lap. We now... Good job, Tim! So Doral is still off the front. He's got about a quarter of a lap, and the pack is not chasing him down right now. So after that third sprint, we now have Pierre-Andre Cote in the lead with 7 points. Steve McKee in second with 6 points. Doral Pop in third with 6 points. Brad Bradford with 5 points. Chris Farek with 3 points. And Steve Bauer with 2 points. This race is still very close. It's anyone's race at this time. And we now have Timothy Burton giving a nice attack to try to catch Doral in the front. We have, the pack is now chasing very hard to bring these riders back. We have number 76, Robert Hargrove, leading the charge, followed by Andy DeLuco. These riders off the front are holding their own. And we have 78 Stephen Keeping on the front there, and followed by Robert Hargrove is now leading the charge, and he's got himself a small gap from the group. So now Timothy Burton has been caught, and the pack is going to come around him now. Robert Hargrove is on the front now, followed by Pierre-Andre Cote. Pierre-Andre Cote is currently leading the race and is probably playing more of a defense role at this time. Another attack here from number 73, Simon Fothergill. He will pull off and leave Pierre-Andre Cote on the front. Pierre-Andre Cote says, no thanks, I don't want to be on the front right now. Someone else take a turn on the front. So underneath now, there's a nice, strong drive. We have 74, Richard Fronner making a big charge and actually getting his own gap from the pack. So now he has a few meters off the group, coming into Bell Lap. Don't forget, Doral Pop is still off the front. He's been on the front for a long time. It looks like he will work to collect his next 5 points. Richard 61 is accelerating here. He is going to try to get those second place points, followed by Steve McKee. Doral Pop now will collect his 5 points, and Steve McKee second, followed by Brad Bradford. Looks like the pack is coming together here, but we'll see. Riders on the front have all pulled up, which means that they say they're ready for a break. They want someone else to go. Number 73 says, I'll go off the front. Simon Fothergill wants to make his move. Steve Bauer is there and says, no, I don't want you to go right now. I'm going to keep you in the field. Now we have 4 riders off the front, led by 83, Justin Rogers, followed by Pierre-Andre Cote, Simon Fothergill, and Steve Bauer. These 4 riders now have half a lap on the field, and if they work together, this could be the 4 to lap the field. After 4 sprints, we have Doral Pop in the lead with 11 points, Steve McKee with 9 points, Brad Bradford with 7 points, and Pierre-Andre Cote with 7 points. The pack has said, oh no, we're in trouble. The pack is now chasing these 4 riders, but it just looks like it might be a little too late, because these 4 riders can see the back of the pack and they are about to catch them. We have 4 riders catching, and all 4 of those riders will collect 20 points each. Those will be the 4 leaders of the race now. So Doral Pop has gone off the front again, capitalizing on this momentary lull in the field. So we have Steve Bauer, Pierre-Andre Cote, Simon Fothergill, and Justin Rogers, who have taken the lap. They each earned 20 points for that. Doral Pop, though, has a quarter of a lap here on the field, and he has number 85, Jason Valenti, behind him. These 2 will try to work together to catch a lap of their own. The field has eased up. Oh. So now we have, so the bell is ringing. These guys will be sprinting on this lap. We have Doral Pop and Jason Valenti off the front, so it looks like they will be fighting for 1st and 2nd place points, and the field will be fighting for 3rd and 4th place points. So here we have a strong sprint. Valenti looks like he will take the win, followed by Doral Pop. And then I think Steve McKee there for 3rd place, and we have Doropop and Valenti still off the front here. There you have 3 riders chasing them. Richard Frenier, Robert Hargrove, and I think Brian Kelly is in there chasing down those 2 riders. So we have 5 riders clearly off the front. But the pack is chasing. We have number 81, William Neidinger, trying to bridge that gap from the pack to the lead group. Number 73, Simon Fothergill, is on the front of the pack, trying to bring those leaders back. So the group is coming together now. Everybody is strung out. Everybody is starting to get tired. There's 26 laps left in this race. There's still plenty of time to take a lap. Your number 76 is on the front here, Robert Hargrove. He's pulling off. And Doral Pop is now on the front once again. Doral Pop has been on the front for a lot this race. So the points right now, we have Pierre-Andre Cote with 27 points, Steve Bauer with 22 points, Simon Fothergill 22 points, and Justin Rogers with 20 points. Behind them we have Doral Pop with 14 points and Steve McKee with 11 points. So this race still has a lot of room to change. Robert Hargrove is in second place. So warning to Steve Bauer for passing on the blue band. And we have Pierre-Andre back on the front. Oh, we are coming into 1 lap to go. This is a sprint lap. We have Pierre-Andre on the front, Steve Bauer behind him, and Hargrove behind them. Pierre-Andre and Steve Bauer have formed a small gap. And Pierre-Andre will take 5 points there, Steve 3 points, I believe, and Stephen Keeping will get third place points. And Doral Pop is back on the front again, followed by so now we have 2 groups of 2. We have Doral Pop and number 76, Robert Hargrove, off the front. They are being chased by 85 and 82, Jason Valenti and, no, I messed that up. Oh, and a warning to Stephen Keeping for entering the sprinter's lane when an opponent was already there. So we still have 2 groups of 2 off the front here. Let's see if this second group can catch the leaders, and then a group of 4 could catch the pack. We have number 72, Chris Ferret, trying to bridge that gap. And the pack is not working together to chase these riders down, so this could be a really good opportunity for these riders on the front to get a good gap on the pack. 5 laps until the next sprint, so they will be looking to stay off the front at least until this next sprint. Now we have a group of 5 off the front. This is really dangerous for the pack. These 5 riders can work together to come around and chase that and get a lap on the pack. So on the front here, we have number 76, Robert Hargrove, followed by Steve McKee. Jason Valenti is in there. Oh, and we have another rider bridging. So now we have a group of 6 off the front. This is very dangerous for the pack. The pack is going to have to chase this down. These 6 riders are going to work together to try to get to get to the back of that pack. They have about a half a lap lead at the moment, and there's 13 laps to go, which means 3 laps until the next sprint. These riders on the front are going to try to keep their gap from the field, but they also want to win this next sprint. So you might see them playing a bit of tactics here to try to win this next sprint. The field is not chasing right now. And these 6 riders are going to be fighting for the points in the next sprint. None of them have committed yet to this sprint. Number 76, Robert Hargrove, is on the front. Steve McKee has now made his attack. He wants to get these 5 points. But number 85, Jason Valenti, says, no, I want those points, and we'll wait to see who wins that sprint. That sprint broke up this leaders group, and now we have only 3 riders on the front. Let's see if they work together to catch this field. They still have half a lap on the field. Doro Pope, Steve McKee, and Jason Valenti are on the front. Doro Pope has another lap. He is on the front again, and he's going to come around and see 8 laps to go, which means he only has to keep the pack behind him for 8 more laps. Going into the last sprint, we have Pierre-Andre Cote in the lead with 32 points, Steve Bauer in second with 25 points, Simon Fothergill with 23 points, and Justin Rogers with 20 points. Doro Pope has 15 points, and Steve McKee has 14 points. At this point, if any rider wants to win the race, Doro Pope is in the lead now. If he can bridge this gap, he has a shot of winning this bike race. He only has 6 laps to do it, and the pack has increased their speed, so this is a pretty tall ask. But let's see. We have a chase group here with 4 riders in it.
Good job, Brad.
The chase group has about half a lap lead on the field. Looks like Pierre-Andre Cote has now attacked off the pack. He does not want Doro Pope to get his lap. Brad Bradford is behind him. This field is starting to split up. These riders are all feeling tired. And so just so you know, Doro Pope is still on the front. He is about a quarter of a lap away from this pack. He has to close that gap if he wants to win this race. There's only 3 laps left to do it. Pierre-Andre Cote says, no, Doral, I do not want you to catch this field. He is attacking off the front, but the pack can't go with him. He's made a gap here. Two laps to go for Doral. Let's cheer him on. Let's see if he can get this lap. The pack has increased its speed. They are setting up for the final sprint. Steve Bauer is accelerating. He's getting ready for his final sprint. Doro Pope is still in the lead. He is getting the bell. He just has to hold on for 1 more lap. Pierre-Andre Cote is now getting passed by Steve Bauer, followed by Brad Bradford. Here we go. It looks like Doro Pope will take these last 5 points, followed by Steve Bauer. Oh, that was very close, but to me, it looks like it was Steve Bauer and then Brad Bradford. We will wait for the final results on this race. There's going to be a brief break after this, followed by scratch races. Racing will resume in 15 minutes at 4:10 with the scratch races. The first scratch race up will be the Junior U17 Women's Scratch Race Final. Reminder to all athletes that you have to go through bike check again before each race. We have the final results here for the points race. We have Pierre-Andre Cote taking the win with 32 points, Steve Bauer in second with 28 points, Simon Fothergill with 23 points, Doro Pop with 21 points, followed by Justin Rogers with 21 points. Again, we almost had a tie for third place, just like the race before. Oh no, sorry, a tie for fourth place, my bad. Steve McKee was sixth in that race with 14 points, and Jason Valenti seventh with 10 points.